Hey Chocobos and Moogles! Welcome to a special episode of the Nintendo Everything Podcast. I'm calling it episode 26S, the Chocobos Mystery Dungeon Everybody Spoilercast. I am your host, Oni Dino. With me, I have the Sid to my Chocobo. It's Galen.
Chocobo.
That's the Moogle. Moogle makes the Kupo sound.
I know. I just really wanted to say Kupo.
Oh, I should have introduced you as a Moogle then. So, this episode, everybody, is special and outside of our regular format. We're going to be talking all about Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon Everybody, which came out on the Switch on March 20th, 2019. This is, of course, a spoiler cast. So, if you super care about the story, you haven't beaten the game yet, or you plan on playing the game, you probably shouldn't listen to this. It's not a super story-heavy game, but just fair warning, right?
Spoiler alert.
Eschewing our entire regular flow of the show, we're just going to jump right into it.
Nice.
Sound good, Galen?
I've got my Gessel Greens right next to me. I've got my Phoenix Downs in case I get a little bit tired. I'm ready to go.
He's well prepared.
I am very well prepared. I'm ready to go into this mini boss fight.
So firstly, what is this series, Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon? So the Chocobo series is an offshoot from the mainline Final Fantasy series. Now there's a ton of frickin' Chocobo games. There's Chocobo's Racing, there's Card Battle, there's a bajillion Japan-only crappy phone games. But we're just going to talk about the Mystery Dungeon series. And there's about 4-ish main games in that series. There was Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon on the PlayStation. That never came to the West. Japan only.
Mm-hmm.
There are references to that game in Everybody, though. Then there was Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon 2, which came out in the West. It was also a PlayStation game. There's references and optional buddy characters from this game in Everybody. Now, Galen, that's the game that I played when we were younger, and if you recall, we played it a bunch together way back in the day, back in like high school.
Oh god. That was back in, I want to say that was back in middle school days. We're talking about two,
you're right.
Uh-huh. That was back in middle school, and I remember I was super pumped because I could go down to my local video rental store, pick up a copy for the weekend, and just have all of my data saved on that PlayStation 1 memory card, because that was a new thing.
Yeah, that was a game changer, because back then, you like all the data was saved onto the cartridge, right? So now, now in 1996, when the PlayStation came out, there's the memory cards. So yeah, quite nice.
Yeah. And for those who may not have had video stores in the past, because I know they are like a rarity nowadays, yeah, whenever you would rent like Super Nintendo games or Sega games or anything like that, there was almost like a lottery to it, because you never knew what save data was going to be on the game that you rented.
Yeah, because say it was Super Mario World, they had a bunch of those cartridges in the back, so you didn't know which cartridge you were going to get.
Mm-hmm. Heck, I remember when I rented a copy of Legend of Zelda for the N64, Ocarina of Time. And I popped it in, never having played it before, and I was like, oh, there's a save file already on here, and it was right before the last fight.
And that's why you've never beaten Ocarina of Time.
Hey, I've beaten it, I just haven't played it.
Oh, that's even worse.
That's even worse.
Everybody should shame him for that. How awful is he that he's never beaten Ocarina of Time?
Hey, to be fair, I have played it on the
Shut up.
3DS.
Yeah, played it. You haven't played it all the way through and beaten it. And that's the superior version. Also, don't at me, anybody that doesn't think that that's a superior version. Anyway, moving on. The third game in the series, which is sort of divisive, whether it's in the series or not, is Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales for the DS. Now, this was released in the West, and I say that it's sort of in the series because it's not technically a Mystery Dungeon game, but it does have the story from... Well, okay, so the story in Everybody is a continuation from this very game, from the DS. It's where Irma, Volg, the Jailbirds, this version of Sid and Sherma all came from. And then there is the fourth game, Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo's Dungeon. That was released on the Wii, it was released in the West, and then it got an expanded sort of remake released on the DS, and that was Japan only. And then it was reworked, remade, remastered, whatever the hell you want to call it, for the Switch and PS4, and it is now known as Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon Everybody. Confusing enough? Are you with me, Galen?
I've got my notes out. I've got my timeline all written down on chalkboard. I've made a couple of corrections.
You were texting, weren't you?
I was not texting. I was... never mind. Let's move on.
He was texting.
Truth be told, I was thinking about whether or not I was going to make an Avengers Endgame joke, but yeah, I figured I'll skip that one.
Yeah, no freaking spoilers. Don't be that person.
That's why I just said I was going to skip it. You can cut that out if you want to.
I'm going to cut your entire part out.
What does that even mean?
Oh, it didn't mean... No, I meant your... Oh, you weirdo. It's so weird.
You're the one who wants to cut parts out.
I meant your vocals in this.
It puts the lotion on the skin or else we play the game again.
Anyway, Chocobos. Chocobos everybody. So the story in this Switch version is based on the changes from the DS remake. There are parts of the story or plot that you're going to be kind of missing if you haven't played Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales, that's what it's called. My God, this is even confusing for me. I'm so sorry, everybody who's listening. Anyway, before I get into the plot and the spoilers, I just want to mention that there was quite a few differences between the Wii version of this game and the Switch and PS4 version of this game.
I was just going to say that was actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about, is just what are all the changes that you've seen comparing the two versions?
So yeah, between the Wii and the Switch version, which is the same as the PS4 version, the camera in particular is the most noticeable. The Wii version is much more cinematic. It's a little bit more drawn in, and the Switch version is much more pulled out and doesn't change cinematography, which, by the way, I'm not sure if that's the correct word to use in video games, but you get my point. It doesn't change cinematography as much as the Wii version did, and in my opinion, the Wii version had more drama and weight to the scenes from the camera angles that they used. Another thing that I can think of is the critical hits that you do when you're in the dungeon as Chocobo. It has like a little extra animation to it in the Wii version where the camera zooms in, Chocobo does a little spin, and then he does a big kick. And that was like anytime you did a critical hit, and so it was, by chance, right? Or, percentage chance. And in this one, it's just still the same exact animation, but a little bit extra particle effects and a little bit extra loud sound. So it's not as... doesn't give you as much of an oomph as that Wii version does. Another thing is the summons that you do, like Ifrit and Shiva. They had like a little mini cutscene in the Wii version. And then they're not in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting they would leave that out.
I thought the same thing too. That's why I'm like, okay, were they missing certain assets or something like that? Because certain parts of this really feel like they were built from the ground up, which is very weird. Even the dungeons, when you're in them, sometimes they're like, I don't want to say missing, but like the effects have been changed, like whether it's fog or something like that. It really does feel like the Wii version is actually the superior version, but it's not super definitive. It's up to your tastes.
Very interesting.
If you can play this on the Wii, I recommend it. If you can play it on the Switch, I also recommend it. So you can't go wrong with either, but I have to say probably I prefer the Wii. Even though the Wii version does not have the buddy system or anything like that, which does make this version a whole lot more fun. So that's why it's kind of hard to choose.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna say, I own this game for the Wii, and I haven't played it in years.
You should play it.
I've actually been thinking about, but I've been thinking about picking this up for the Switch because it would give me a chance to like kind of play it on the go, and that portability aspect is very appealing to me. So
yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with it on the Switch. Honestly, the buddy system is great. It adds a whole bunch more extra stuff to it that adds more tactics to the battle system. And then another thing, a very big thing that was changed is the voice acting. Now, the voice acting in the Switch version is not good. I don't know whether it's the direction or what, but it's not good. That said, it's miles better than the Wii version because the Wii version was atrocious.
How so? How was it bad?
I mean, it sounds like kindergartners recorded it. It sounds like there was...
Oh, ouch.
like the voice actors, it sounds like they just had lines in front of them. They had zero context and they didn't have a director or anything like that because it was so weird. Have you heard that one lady in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion where she does like a retake of what she's saying and rereads the line, but all that is left in the actual final game? She reads the line and then she's like, hold on, let me do that again. And then she reads the line again and that's still in the whole thing. And like the character is looking at you and moving its mouth. That's what it felt like the entire time in the Wii version. So either way, both versions, not great voice acting.
That is really weird.
Yeah. It's pretty atrocious. So here we go. We're going to get right into what the hell happened in the plot of this game. You've probably heard Galen and I making jokes about depressed, sad, nihilistic Chocobo. Yeah, poor Chocobo. He ate too many Gessel greens. Now he has an addiction. This freaking game is full of so much despair. It's what led me to do this spoiler cast because of course I've beaten plenty of games, even story-driven games, since we've been doing the podcast, and I haven't really done a spoiler cast yet. But this game is all kinds of lovely, endearing jank that I'm so drawn to it.
You're very attracted to the jank.
Yeah. Honestly, human suffering, just lay it on me. I love it.
So one other thing before we go into the story and everything like that on this. So I've been meaning to ask, I know when this game came out, it also came out for the PlayStation 4. And one of the things that have held me off from actually picking this game up is that I heard that there was some exclusive DLC because of course it's a modern game and it has to have that. So if you had gotten the game on the Switch, you got the Machinist Chocobo Buddy, and if you got it on the PS4, you got a Beastmaster Chocobo Buddy.
Oh.
That is, I don't know if these were pre-orders and you got these exclusives or if they were just exclusive to that side, but have you had any experience with either of these classes when you were playing the game?
So yeah, those two classes are two of the many classes that you get as Chocobo. It's a class-based system. By the way, the Chocobo costumes are the most adorable things in the entire world. They're so good. I do have the Machinist DLC buddy, and it was free with the game, so I don't know why it's DLC. Maybe it was a pre-order bonus.
That's probably what it was. It was just the pre-order bonus for it.
Okay.
So.
And yeah, I used him several times, but I mean, there's so many other buddies to use in like the main character thing. I think there's like 20 of them. And then all of the monsters can also be buddies too if you pick up enough of their buddy points. So either having those DLC or not having either of those DLC does not make a damn of a difference because there's so much different stuff you can choose between.
Okay.
Don't even worry about it.
So really just get it on whichever console I want to play it on.
Yep. So let's go into the plot. I'm going to break it down in sort of my own way on what went down in the story.
The story of rock and roll, drugs, addiction, and all of the slides and swing sets.
Yes. So to set this up, we have characters named Irma and Volg. They were antagonists in Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales. And they're like antagonists, but they have like a good heart underneath all that. They became a little bit nicer. So it starts off with them. There are also the jailbirds, which are black chocobos that dress up in jailbird uniforms. That's what they're called.
That is freaking adorable.
It's so cute. So cute, man. You can't even handle it. I recommend all of the Chocobo games just because of the aesthetic. I seriously can't get enough of it. But they're like little lackeys of Irma's.
Come for the cute, stay for the nihilism.
Basically, yeah. That's Chocobo in a nutshell, and it's so weird, and I love it. I love human suffering mixed with cuteness. It's perfect.
What?
It's just who I am. You got to accept it. So our story opens up, and it's Chocobo and his buddy Sid going to some tower in the desert somewhere to get some MacGuffin thing called the Timeless Power. You get there, it is all cutscene, and Irma and Volg are already there, and they take it, and then suddenly everybody is transported to a town called Lost Time. Irma is missing, but everybody else is there. Timeless Power is missing too. Sid is confused as hell. He's questioning things, and then the town bell rings, and he loses his memories. He's like, what was I talking about? I've got the amnesia brain. And then you as Chocobo, a walking chicken, you go around. The whole town is weird. Everyone is acting like they're missing parts of their brains, almost zombie-like. The mayor keeps saying, oblivion is a virtue. And it's like, what is happening? This is strange. That's his catchphrase. Oblivion is a virtue, for real.
Good catchphrase.
You're not sure anyone is who they say they are, and everyone has the strangest, most stiltedest, awkward, and tense things to say. That's why this is basically just Chocobo's Dungeon Twin Peaks to me. Because you get to know every single person in this town, and you have to help them get their memories back.
Everybody has their own, like, requests or side stories or things like that to go with it.
Actually, it's better than that. They're not like, oh, I need some carob nuts, and can you please go find me 5 from the forest of whining? It's not like that at all. It's better. I'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
Leading into that is perfect. A comet comes crashing into the city, and it's not actually a comet, it's an egg. It freaking hatches into a green-haired baby person named Raffaello.
Okay.
Exactly. That feeling right there, that's what you should be feeling, and that's what you go with when you're playing Chocobo. So this green-haired baby dude, he flies, and he flies into people's mind dungeons, and apparently Chocobo can go inside them too? Why?
Because he's a Chocobo.
So that's how you're getting people's memories back, is you're going into people's mind dungeons after the baby. And everyone insists that Chocobo has to save everyone. Why? Chocobo is a bird. This is ridiculous, right? But the plot does not stop to explain it. You just go with it. Shut up. You are a Chocobo.
All right. You have my attention. I'm willing to sit and listen to this ride.
Yes. A bunch of crap happens like this over and over where you talk to people in town who are all acting weird. Green-haired flying mind dungeon baby into their brains coming out. Chocobo dungeon. They try and recall something. The bell in the town rings. Then they can't remember what they're doing or saying. And then they're like, oh, and then the green-haired flying baby mind dungeon. And it's a bag of cats.
Bag of cats?
Yes. And then there's also this weird black mage lady who is so brooding. She encounters Chocobo from time to time to try and stop him, and she's the most dramatic ever. But she's, mysterious and doesn't say why. So you're just like, okay, I guess I'll fight a black mage now. Okay, bye. Like, none of this is making sense. And it seems like the story is meandering because you don't get told what's going on exactly. You just kind of repeat the process for a little bit in the earlier part of the story.
And every time you actually get something done, the bell rings and you completely forget that you did it.
Yeah, exactly. So when the baby flies into a mind dungeon of an oracle in the town, oh, by the way, there's oracles. There are oracles of fire, water, light, and darkness. And when the baby flies into that brain, it cocoons itself and then rehatches and grows an age bracket. So it goes from infant to young boy, teen, that kind of thing.
Okay. So the boy gets older?
Yeah.
Okay.
By re-cocooning and then rehatching in a mind dungeon brain of an oracle. This is Chocobo. It's Final Fantasy. It has to be nonsense and has to be convoluted. Every person's mind has these weird monologues as you progress through each floor that hint at their old past and what was going on. So you're learning the story like piecemeal, which actually adds like a really great element of mystery. And it's one of my favorite aspects about this game's story. And it's what really pushed me to keep going, because they keep alluding to like a past life. It's not so much a past life, it's just like the past of this very life. And it's so strange. It's like, I just have to find out what is going on. What is this story getting at, right?
It compelled you. It got you hooked into it.
Yeah. So you eventually realize that you're restoring people's memories. And meanwhile, Raffaello, as he's getting older, he starts talking to you and Sherma. Oh, and there's like this Aunt May-esque character. Oh, I didn't even introduce Sherma. Okay, Sherma's a white mage. I don't know why Chocobo really knows her. She lives in this town. She's always appeared in the Chocobo's dungeon games. Whatever. White mage, pink hair, go with it. Anime.
I think I remember her. I think I even remember her from the second game, the one that came out in the States for the PlayStation.
Yes. So there's like this Aunt May-esque character. Her name is Stella. So Raphael starts talking about Stella, not about how she can get her groove back, but how he, Raffaello, feels something evil growing inside of him. So then, meanwhile, Aunt Stella is like, no, it's fine, have some biscuits. And Chocobo's like, nah, girl, the comet child man cometh to kill us all. And except Chocobo's a damn bird, and it just sounds like QP the entire time. So people don't understand what he's saying. So eventually you help everyone remember that there was some creature that descended upon the town that they all called the Destroyer of Legend or something like that. And he murdered like half the town.
And this is a Chocobo game.
This is a Chocobo game. The tiny baby, cupid, adorable game. Everyone was so wrought with pain, suffering, depression, sadness, loss, that they all chose to forget their memories using the bell in town and magic or something convoluted, but whatever, Final Fantasy, man.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they all forgot their memories. That's why the stupid mayor keeps saying oblivion is a virtue. So you bring everyone's memories back, right?
Okay.
Everyone is full of despair because you brought their memories back, and people are remembering their dead babies, their dead parents, all their failures. And it's so backwards and existential because it's like, wait, should I be doing this? But also, I'm a chicken. And then it turns out that Raffaello, the green-haired baby dude, is the Destroyer of Legend and also the Guardian Beast of Darkness, I guess. Okay. Also, that timeless power MacGuffin that started out the whole story, from the very beginning, it was designed to make all of these events reoccur. So it's actually all Chocobo's fault?
What?
Shut up. We're moving on. Anyway, it gets better. Chocobo, a goddamn bird, may I remind you, he creates an airship using Sid's father's blueprints because Sid's father used to live in this town. How convenient. And then Chocobo flies the airship to the Guardian Beast of Darkness's floating island dungeon in the sky because Final Fantasy. Are you with me, Galen? Have you died?
Hang on. I'm out of Gessel greens. Hang on a second. Okay. I think I got this.
Okay.
So you're a chicken.
Yes. So you fly into this island in the sky, obviously final dungeon, right? So you, a bird, beat the Destroyer of Legends using other oracles' powers, and then, they do the light thing, and then, all the powers coming together, working as one nonsense trope.
You are the chicken of legend.
Exactly. And then the dungeon island explodes with Chocobo in it, cut to credits.
What?
Yes! This damn game ends on Chocobo dying in a die-hard explosion. Preposterous!
I do have to ask, is it possible that you missed something to unlock the quote-unquote true ending?
That's immediately what I thought.
Okay.
So, credits roll, post-credits, the whole town and region are cured of their memory affliction or whatever nonsense. Chocobo is totally dead, except he isn't because we see him falling out of the sky. Boom, twisted again. A lot of twists, gotta keep up. And then he gets caught by the airship, narrowly missing the spinning blades that would have turned him into like a Looney Tunes styled cooked chicken if he got hit by him. Meanwhile, the airship is being piloted by Teen Raffaello, the one you just killed, except back when he was in his H.R. Giger biomechanical form that looked like something it could have been out of like Final Fantasy VI or Alien or something like that. You know, one of the two, those two things that are so close. So it turns out that Teen Raffaello green-haired baby dude is now a human only, and everyone's somber and full of gloom, but they accept their misery, and Raffaello is full of self-pity, and he wanders off to somewhere who the hell knows because he wants to atone for his sins. End game. And this is a goddamn cutesy Chocobo game, and it's so melancholic, I just sat there wondering what I had experienced.
All right.
And the worst part, man, that I found out after, as I was like writing down my notes, right? The worst part is the horrid coincidence that I, as a gamer, had just, like the townspeople, already experienced this game and played through it in its entirety on the Wii. And I had forgotten my memories, and Chocobo revived them. And at the end of the day, I sat there disheartened over what I experienced, wondering if it was actually worth it, just like the townspeople.
You're telling me that this game is a metaphor for life.
Sure. Chocobo can teach me about life.
You know what? I know we meant it as a joke beforehand, but this whole coma dream theory that we had a couple of podcast episodes ago, I think we're right on.
It is mind-blowing, man. I can't believe that this game actually exists because it's all of the cute aspects, the art style, everything is adorable and lighthearted, but the story is not. And that tonal dissonance combined and married together is what I thrive in. This isn't a perfect game by any means. It's solid, and the story isn't original by any means, but those mishmashing parts, I can't believe it exists. And I'm so happy for it.
I'd say it's a very memorable game, but apparently it's not.
Oh, there's irony. Nah, I'll remember now. Now that I've done a spoiler cast on it, I'll remember. The town bell in the distance.
Boom.
I mean, I was going to put a sound effect in there. You didn't have to do it with your mouth.
Boom.
Yet still. Galen, after hearing all of this, what thoughts do you have, Kupo?
So, you're saying he's a chicken. With a lot of what you were telling me, the story actually reminded me of the PlayStation 1 game Dark Cloud.
Oh!
Like, in Dark Cloud, there's a... Yeah, for those of you unaware, Dark Cloud is a PlayStation 1 game. It was actually a PlayStation 1 launch game, if I'm correct.
PlayStation 2.
Or not, PlayStation 2 launch game.
A fantastic game.
Yeah, fantastic game. But it starts off with this dark ritual that summons a magic genie who ends up destroying the world. But as a way to try to save the world, all of the residents and their homes get trapped in these little bubbles. And then your character gets awakened and has to crawl through dungeons in order to try to find all of these people. But the people that you get, they have certain requests to try to put things back to how they were, if not a little bit better. So you'll get a person, you'll get their house, and then you put that person in their house. And it's interesting because there's an entire world building element to this where you can actually set houses down, set the rotation that their house is in, add different items like lanterns, benches, things like that. But they have particular requests, and as you fulfill their request, you get to hear more about their personality and their story.
Yeah.
And you can eventually like move these characters to different towns and whatnot. So a lot of what you were saying in this game with like what the story is and how you are experiencing the story reminded me a lot of that other game.
Absolutely. That's a great comparison to pull up because there are a lot of parallels. There's a lot of differences between the two. I would say that Dark Cloud is the better game for sure.
Mm-hmm. Dark Cloud is also an action RPG game where this game is more of a strategy, take your time and crawl through a dungeon.
Yeah, but I mean, they are both dungeon crawlers, and they both do have roguelite elements to them. And, you know, each floor is a randomly generated floor, but you are still progressing through a story, and you are still making it through somewhere. And, you know, if you die, you lose your items, all that junk. There's total parallels with that as well. So, yeah, great comparison, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Highly recommend if anybody has not played that game, absolutely play it. It's on the PS2. It's also on the PS4 under like the PS2 Classic remaster thingy. You can get trophies and garbage for it if you want to. Anyway, I got that on PS4. So good. Play that.
Yeah. I had both Dark Cloud 1 and Dark Cloud 2. They did make a sequel for that game.
It's different, but it is good.
Yeah, they remove like the world building element, but there's still it's a lot of the same and a lot of different. But anyway, otherwise, what do I want to say about the story? It sounds weird.
It is. It's very weird.
Yeah. And it seems very interesting as to how you put the sense of tonal difference between what the message of what the story is trying to convey versus the cute package that everything is wrapped up into.
Yeah, and in such a strange way, it works because Chocobo by nature is a silent protagonist because he can't talk. He's a Chocobo.
Mm-hmm.
So it works in that regard where, the focus is on the other characters. You are seeing the world through the eyes of Chocobo, and it gets to focus on that world.
I'm trying to think if there are any other games, like, what other games kind of, like, combine those two messages?
The cute and despair?
Yeah. Like, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Video games? Oh, man, I'm really terrible at thinking of this kind of stuff off the top of my head.
Maybe some, like, Kirby games if you get into the deep lore of it.
Yeah, it's
Maybe?
nowhere near as overt as this game is. This game hits you over the head with it. Kirby games, you can easily miss all of the crazy eldritch horrors that are happening in the background in the deep dark Kirby lore. Yeah, let's put a pin in that and think about that, because I'm sure there has to be some. Also, hey, anybody who's listening, if you have one that tweet at us or write us an email, because I want to hear about it. Clearly, this is my garbage, so I want to be playing those kinds of games.
Well, and like, I just thought of one off the top of my head, and that was Super Mario Galaxy with Rosalina's story.
Oh, yeah, that was strange because they didn't actually go anywhere with it. Did they?
Well, I think they were kind of alluding as to what her character was, where her character came from, and things like that. But you went through this whole storybook, and then you realized at the end of it, it's all about how Rosalina lost her mother and she died.
Right.
So she ran away.
Yeah. Can we get Super Mario RPG 2, where we go to Rosalina and also Gino's areas and connect the two stories there? I want to hear about some sadness. Give me sad characters in Mario.
Honestly, if they did a Super Mario RPG 2 today with the current writing and expectations that we want out of these kind of games, I think it would be mind-blowing.
Please do Super Mario RPG Maker 2, Nintendo. That's all I wanted. That's all I've ever wanted.
Super Mario RPG Maker?
Wait. Shut up.
Hey, I'm not knocking you for that one, because that also sounds amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick it out of bed. So anyway, dialing it back to Chocobo's Dungeon, my final thoughts is that, of course, I hope they make another one. I hope it gets weirder. I hope it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
I want Lovecraftian horror in the form of summons like Ifrit and Shiva. I want Chocobo, a chicken who can't fly, to save the universe. I want death.
Well, we have Chocobo's death.
Go ahead and get convoluted. Final Fantasy writers like to get convoluted and pretentious. Look at all of their games in the last 15 years. That's what I want. That's what I want on a Chocobo.
Not Dungeon Hero X.
How did I forget? Okay, so there's a Moogle. And he plays a bigger role in the Wii version than he does in the Switch version, because in the beginning he kind of teaches you a little bit of tutorial stuff, little bit by bit, and he's just a Moogle that hangs around town, and he's like, oh, I don't know who that Dungeon Hero X guy is, or Merchant Hero X, but I hear they're pretty cool. And all it is it's him, and he just puts on the costumes, and he's so excited. Oh, he's adorable.
Kupo.
So good. So that about does it for the Spoilercast of Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. Everybody, way too many words in that title. If you want to email us about any of this stuff or write an email for a question for the regular podcast, send us an email at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. You got that, Galen?
Yep. Send all of our coupons to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Coupo me, bro.
Don't coupo me, bro.
Stay tuned for our regular podcast every Sunday where we go over the news and we talk about nonsense and we rant and we rave. Check out nintendoeverything.com for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye bye.
Coupo, coupo.